The rain hammered against the windows like angry fists trying to break in. Marcus Wellington stood in his giant living room, holding a glass of water, staring at nothing. Outside, the storm turned the night into a wall of black. Inside, 40 rooms sat empty and silent around him. The mansion was so big that his footsteps echoed when he walked. So big that sometimes he forgot which room was which. He was the richest man in the city, maybe the whole state. His company made computers that people all over the world used every single day. He had 12 cars he never drove. He had paintings worth millions hanging on walls he never looked at. He had everything money could buy. But tonight, like every night, he ate dinner alone. He worked alone. He would go to sleep alone in a bed big enough for 5 people. Marcus walked to the window and watched the rain slide down the glass. Lightning cracked the sky open for just a second, showing the iron gates far below, the long driveway, the perfect gardens that workers came to trim every week. Everything in its place, everything controlled, everything exactly how he wanted it. Knock, knock, knock. Marcus froze. Nobody knocked on his door, ever. People called first. They made appointments. They went through his assistant, his secretary, his security team. The gate was locked. The cameras were always watching. Knock, knock, knock. Louder this time. More desperate. Marcus set down his glass and walked slowly toward the huge front door. His heart started beating faster. Through the small window at the top, he could see nothing but darkness and rain. He opened the door. A little girl stood on his doorstep. She was soaking wet. Water dripped from her dark hair and ran down her face, mixing with tears. She wore a thin pink jacket that was too small and old jeans with holes in the knees. In one hand, she clutched a small brown suitcase that looked older than she was. It had tape holding one corner together. She looked up at him with huge brown eyes full of fear and hope and something that made his chest feel tight. She was maybe 7 or 8 years old, just a tiny thing, shaking in the cold rain. "Please," she whispered. Her voice was so small, he almost couldn't hear it over the storm. "Please help me." Marcus stared. His brain couldn't make sense of what he was seeing. A child, on his doorstep, in the middle of the night, in a storm. "How did you—" He started, then stopped. "How did you get past the gate?" "I climbed over," she said, her voice shaking. "I am sorry. I'm really sorry. But I didn't know where else to go." Marcus looked past her into the darkness. No car, no adult, nothing but rain and wind, and the long empty driveway. "Where are your parents?" he demanded. His voice came out harder than he meant it to. "Where did you come from?" The girl's face crumpled. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks, mixing with the rain. Her whole body shook, and Marcus couldn't tell if it was from cold or from crying. "My mama left," she said, the words tumbling out between sobs. 3 days ago. She said she couldn't do it anymore. She said she was tired of being poor and tired of taking care of me, and she just left. She took her bag and walked out, and she didn't come back. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest, something he'd kept locked up for years. "What about your father?" he asked, but his voice was softer now. The girl shook her head. Water flew from her hair. "I don't have a father. Mama said he left before I was born. She said he never wanted me." The words hung in the air between them. "Never wanted me." Marcus thought about his own empty mansion, his own silent rooms, his own life where nobody needed him for anything except his money. "Why did you come here?" he asked. "Why my house?" The girl wiped her nose with her wet sleeve. "I've walked past your house before. It's so big and beautiful. I thought maybe someone who has so much might have a little bit of room for me. Just until I figure out what to do. I won't be trouble. I promise. I can sleep anywhere. I don't eat much." She held up the suitcase with both hands, like she was offering proof of something. "This is all I have," she said. "Some clothes. Some pictures of Mama from when she was happy. A blanket my grandma made before she died. That's it. I don't have money. I don't have anything else." Marcus stood there, his expensive suit getting wet from the rain blowing through the open door. He should call the police. He should call child services. He should do something official and proper and safe. But the girl was looking at him like he was her last hope in the whole world. "What's your name?" he heard himself ask. "Lily," she whispered. "My name is Lily." "Lily," Marcus repeated. He took a deep breath. Every logical part of his brain was screaming at him to be careful, to think this through, to protect himself. But all he could see was a tiny, wet, scared child who had climbed over a fence in a storm, because she had nowhere else to go. "Come inside," he said, stepping back from the door. "You'll catch your death out there." Lily's eyes went wide. For a second, she didn't move, like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. Then she grabbed her suitcase with both hands and stepped across the threshold into the warm, golden light of the mansion. Marcus closed the door behind her. The sound of the storm became muffled and distant. Water puddled on his expensive marble floor from her wet shoes and dripping clothes. "Stay here," he said, his voice gruff because he didn't know what else to sound like. "I'll get you a towel." When he came back with the softest, fluffiest towel he owned, Lily was still standing exactly where he'd left her, clutching her suitcase, afraid to move or touch anything. He wrapped the towel around her shoulders. She was so small it covered her completely. "Thank you," she whispered, looking up at him. "Thank you so much." Marcus nodded stiffly. He didn't know how to talk to children. He didn't know how to take care of anyone except himself. He had built walls around his heart, so high that nobody had gotten close in years. But tonight, those walls had a crack in them, and a little girl named Lily had just slipped through. "Are you hungry?" he asked. Lily nodded, still shivering under the towel. "Come on then," Marcus said, turning toward the kitchen. "Let's see what we can find." As he walked, he heard her small footsteps behind him, echoing in the vast, empty hallway. And for the first time in longer than he could remember, Marcus Wellington didn't feel quite so alone in his big, silent house. The storm raged on outside, but inside, something new was beginning. Something that would change everything. Morning light poured through the tall windows like liquid gold. Lily woke up in the softest bed she had ever felt in her entire life. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she remembered. The storm, the big door, the tall man with the sad eyes who had given her soup and crackers last night before showing her to this room. She sat up and looked around. The bedroom was bigger than the whole apartment she'd lived in with her mama. There was a desk with a lamp shaped like a dolphin. Bookshelves filled with books that looked like nobody had ever read them. A window seat with cushions that looked out over gardens so perfect they seemed like a painting. Lily climbed out of bed, her bare feet sinking into carpet, so thick it felt like walking on clouds. Her old suitcase sat in the corner where she'd left it. Her wet clothes from last night were gone. Instead, someone had left a clean t-shirt and sweatpants on a chair. They were way too big for her, but they were clean and dry and smelled like fresh laundry. She got dressed and opened the bedroom door carefully, peeking out into the hallway. The mansion was even bigger in the daylight. Hallways stretched in every direction. Paintings hung on walls. Statues stood in corners. Everything was clean and perfect, and a little bit scary because it was so fancy. "Hello," Lily called out softly. Her voice disappeared into the bigness of the house. She walked down the hallway, running her hand along the smooth wall. She passed door after door after door. How many rooms did one person need? Didn't he get lonely in here all by himself? Finally, she found the stairs and made her way down to the big entrance where she'd stood, dripping wet last night. In the daylight, she could see just how beautiful everything was. The chandelier hanging above her head had 1,000 pieces of crystal that caught the light. The floor was so shiny she could see her reflection in it. "You're awake." Lily jumped and spun around. Marcus stood in a doorway, holding a coffee cup. He was wearing different clothes than last night, a crisp white shirt and dark pants. His face looked tired, like maybe he hadn't slept much. "I'm sorry," Lily said quickly. "I didn't mean to wander around. I was looking for you." "It's fine," Marcus said, but his voice sounded stiff and uncomfortable. "Are you hungry?" Lily nodded. Marcus led her to a kitchen that was bigger than most restaurants. It had 2 refrigerators, 3 ovens, and countertops that seemed to go on forever. He made her toast with butter and jam and poured her a glass of orange juice. Lily ate quietly, aware of him watching her. When she finished, she looked up at him with those big brown eyes. "What happens now?" she asked. The question hung in the air between them. Marcus set down his coffee cup carefully. "I don't know," he admitted. "I called some people this morning. Social services. They're going to send someone over to talk to you." Lily's face went pale. "Are you sending me away?" "I'm trying to figure out what's best for you," Marcus said. But even as he said it, he felt something twist in his chest. "You need to be somewhere safe. Sumawara prupe." "This is safe," Lily said, her voice getting smaller. "This is the safest I felt in forever." Before Marcus could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at the screen, and his jaw tightened. It was his assistant, Janet, and she sounded panicked. "Mr. Wellington, we have a situation," she said. "There are reporters outside your gate. Lots of them. Someone saw the little girl climbing over your fence last night and called the news. They're saying you have a mystery child staying with you. The story is everywhere." Marcus closed his eyes. Of course. Nothing stayed private anymore. Someone with a phone camera had probably captured Lily climbing the fence in the storm, and now the whole world wanted to know what a billionaire was doing with a homeless child. "I'll handle it," he said, and hung up. When he looked at Lily, she had gone very still, like a rabbit sensing danger. "What's wrong?" she asked. "People know you're here," Marcus said. "Reporters. They want to know your story." "Oh," Lily said in a tiny voice. She looked down at her hands. "I am sorry. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I can leave if you want. I can go right now." "No," Marcus said, and the word came out sharper than he meant. He was surprised by how strongly he felt it. "You're not going anywhere. Not yet." But inside, his mind was racing. What was he doing? He didn't know how to take care of a child. He didn't know anything about being a parent or a guardian. His whole life was built on control, on keeping everything at a distance, on never letting anyone get too close. And now this little girl with her sad story and her brave eyes was making him feel things he'd locked away years ago. The doorbell rang. Not the desperate knock from last night, but the proper, polite ring of someone expected. Marcus went to answer it, and Lily followed close behind him, like she was afraid to be left alone. A woman in a neat gray suit stood on the doorstep with a clipboard and a kind but tired smile. "Mr. Wellington? I'm Sarah Chun from Child Protective Services. I'm here about the child." Marcus let her in. For the next hour, Sarah asked Lily questions. Where was her mother? When did she leave? Did Lily have any other family? Had anyone hurt her? Lily answered every question honestly, her voice steady even though Marcus could see her hands shaking in her lap. "I wasn't hurt," Lily said clearly. "My mama never hit me or anything. She just gave up. She said she couldn't do it anymore, that she needed a life of her own. She walked out, and I waited for 3 days, but she never came back. I ran out of food. I was scared, so I came here." "Why here?" Sarah asked gently. "Why this house?" Lily looked at Marcus, and something passed between them that neither of them could explain. "Because I thought maybe someone who had so much wouldn't mind sharing a little bit," Lily said. "I didn't want money. I just wanted a place, a home, somewhere I belong." The words hit Marcus like a punch to the stomach. A place to belong. When was the last time he'd felt like he belonged anywhere? When was the last time these walls had felt like a home instead of just a house? Sarah made notes on her clipboard. "Mr. Wellington, Lily will need to be placed in temporary foster care while we try to locate her mother and determine what's best for her long term." "No," Marcus heard himself say. Sarah looked up, surprised. "Excuse me?" "She can stay here," Marcus said, "temporarily, until you figure things out. I have the space. I have the resources. She's already here and she's safe." Sarah frowned. "Mr. Wellington, that's not standard procedure. You haven't been vetted as a foster parent. We don't know." "I'm one of the most public people in this city," Marcus interrupted. "You can vet me in 5 minutes. I've never been arrested. I've never done anything wrong. My entire life is documented. And Lily is already comfortable here. Why traumatize her by moving her again? Sarah looked at Lily, who was staring at Marcus with something like wonder on her face. Is this what you want, Lily? Sarah asked. To stay here? Lily nodded so hard her whole body moved. Yes, please. I want to stay here. Sarah sighed. I'll need to do a home inspection, and you'll need to sign some paperwork. And this is temporary, Mr. Wellington, just until we can find a permanent solution. Fine, Marcus said, after Sarah left with promises to return tomorrow with forms. Marcus and Lily stood alone in the entrance hall again. The house felt different somehow. Less empty, less cold. Why did you do that? Lily asked quietly. Why did you tell her I could stay? Marcus looked down at this small, brave girl who had climbed over his fence in a storm. He thought about his empty rooms and his lonely dinners, and his life measured in numbers instead of moments. I don't know, he admitted, but you're here now, so let's figure out together. Lily smiled. It was the first real smile he'd seen from her, and it lit up her whole face. That afternoon, as news vans gathered outside the gates and reporters tried to get statements, Marcus took Lily on a tour of the mansion. He showed her the library with its thousands of books, the game room with equipment nobody ever used, the indoor pool that hadn't been swum in for years. This place needs people, Lily said, looking around at all the empty space. It's too big for just one person. It makes everything feel sad. She was right, Marcus realized. His fortress of wealth had become a prison of loneliness. That night, they had dinner together at the long dining table. Marcus sat at one end, and Lily sat at the other, and they had to call out to each other to be heard. It was ridiculous. So Marcus picked up his plate and moved to sit right next to her, and they ate side by side, talking about small things, favorite colors and foods, and what books Lily liked to read. For the first time in years, the dining room didn't feel empty. But at 10 o'clock, just as Marcus was about to tell Lily it was bedtime, the doorbell rang again. Marcus frowned. Who had come this late? He opened the door, and his blood ran cold. A woman stood there. She had Lily's brown eyes and the same shape to her face. She wore too much makeup and clothes that were wrinkled and stained. She smelled like cigarettes and cheap perfume. Hello, Marcus, she said, even though they'd never met. I am Dayan, Lily's mother. I've come to take my daughter home. Behind him, Marcus heard Lily gasp. The woman who had abandoned her child had come back. And everything was about to get much more complicated. Time seemed to stop. Marcus stood in the doorway, blocking Diane from entering. Behind him, he could hear Lily's breathing, quick and scared. Nana. Lily's voice was barely a whisper. Diane tried to look past Marcus, her eyes searching for her daughter. Baby, there you are. I've been so worried about you. Come here, sweetheart. Let's go home. You left her, Marcus said, his voice hard as steel. 3 days ago. You walked out and didn't come back. Diane's face shifted. The fake sweetness melted away, replaced by something sharp and calculating. That's between me and my daughter. You have no right to keep her from me. I'm her mother. The mother who abandoned her, Marcus said. The mother who left an 8-year-old child alone with no food, no money, and no way to take care of herself. I was having a hard time, Diane snapped. I needed a break. I came back, didn't I? Now, let me see my daughter. Marcus didn't move. Something about this woman made his skin crawl. The way she talked, the way she looked at the mansion with hungry eyes, the way she hadn't even really looked at Lily yet. Not with love, but with something else. Something wrong. How did you know she was here? Marcus asked. Diane smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. I saw the news. Everyone saw the news. Billionaire Marcus Wellington takes in a homeless child. Very touching, very generous. She said the words like they tasted bad. I figure it was my Lily. Who else would be dumb enough to climb a fence in a storm? Don't call her dumb, Marcus said, his voice dropping to a dangerous level. I can call my own daughter whatever I want. Diane shot back. Now are you to let me in, or do I need to call the police and tell them you're keeping my child for me? Marcus felt Lily's small hand grip the back of the shirt. She was holding on so tight her knuckles must have hurt. "Please," Lily whispered. "Please don't make me go with her." Those words broke something open inside Marcus. This wasn't about what was legal or proper or right according to the law. This was about a terrified child who had risked everything to find safety, and he was not going to let anyone take that safety away from her. "Come inside," Marcus said to Diane, stepping back. "We need to talk." Diane walked in, her eyes immediately scanning everything. The chandelier, the marble floors, the expensive furniture. Marcus could practically see her adding up dollar signs in her head. They went to the living room. Lily sat close to Marcus on the couch, as far from her mother as she could get. Diane sat across from them, crossing her legs and trying to look like she belonged in a place like this. "So here's what I'm thinking," Diane said, not even pretending to care about small talk. "Lily can stay here for a while. You obviously like having her around. You're obviously rich enough that one more mouth to feed won't hurt you. And I could use a little financial help. To get back on my feet. Maybe we could work out an arrangement." Marcus stared at her. "An arrangement?" "Sure," Diane said, warming to her subject. "You want to play daddy for a while? Fine, but I'm still her mother. I still have rights. So maybe you give me, I don't know, $5,000 a month to help me out? And in exchange, I don't make trouble. I let Lily stay here, and everyone's happy." The room went silent. Marcus felt rage building inside him like a volcano about to explode. This woman wasn't here because she missed her daughter. She wasn't here because she loved Lily or worried about her or wanted to make sure she was okay. She was here because she'd seen a chance to make money. "You want me to pay you," Marcus said slowly, "to let me take care of your daughter. I prefer to think of it as child support," Diane said with a shrug. "You're using her. I should get something out of it, too. I mean, look at this place. $5,000 a month is nothing to you." "Mama, no," Lily said, her voice breaking. "That's not why I came here. I didn't come here for money." "Hush, baby," Diane said, but she still wasn't really looking at Lily. Her eyes were on Marcus, calculating, waiting for his answer. The adults are talking. Marcus stood up. He was not a violent man, but right now he wanted this woman out of his house more than he'd ever wanted anything. "Get out," he said. Diane blinked. "Excuse me." "Get out of my house," Marcus repeated, his voice deadly calm. "Right now." "You can't throw me out," Diane said, standing up too. "She's my daughter. I have legal rights. If you don't give me what I want, I'll take her with me right now and you'll never see her again." "No," Lily cried, jumping up and wrapping her arms around Marcus's waist. No, no, no. I don't want to go. Please don't make me go." Marcus put his hand on Lily's head, feeling her whole body shake with sobs. He looked at Diane and saw no love there. No regret, no maternal instinct, just greed and anger. "Here's what's going to happen," Marcus said, pulling out his phone. "I'm calling Sarah Chun from Child Protective Services. I'm calling my lawyer, and I'm telling them that you just tried to sell your daughter to me for $5,000 a month. That's called extortion. That's also proof that you're an unfit mother." Diane's face went white, then red. "You can't prove that. It's your word against mine." "Actually," Marcus said, pointing to a small camera in the corner of the room, "every room in this house has security cameras. Every word you just said was recorded. So yes, I can prove it." It was a lie. The cameras weren't on. But Diane didn't know that. She stood there, opening and closing her mouth like a fish. Then her face twisted with rage. "Fine," she spat. "Keep her. See if I care." She was always more trouble than she was worth anyway. Crying all the time, needing things, always in the way. You want her so bad? She's yours. Good luck. She stormed toward the door, then stopped and turned back one more time. "You'll regret this," she said. "Both of you." Then she was gone, slamming the door so hard the chandelier shook. Lily was crying so hard she couldn't breathe. Marcus knelt down and pulled her into his arms. This tiny girl who'd been brave enough to climb a fence in a storm, who'd been betrayed by the one person who was supposed to love her no matter what. "It's okay," he whispered, holding her tight. "I've got you. You're safe. I promise." "She doesn't want me." Lily sobbed into his shoulder. "My own mama doesn't want me." "Then she's a fool," Marcus said fiercely, "because you are brave and smart and kind, and anyone would be lucky to have you." They stayed like that for a long time, until Lily's sobs turned to hiccups and then to shaky breaths. Finally, she pulled back and looked up at him with red, swollen eyes. "What happens now?" she asked. "Where do I go?" Marcus wiped the tears from her cheeks with his thumb. And in that moment, looking at this child who cracked open his frozen heart, he made a choice that would change both their lives forever. "You're not going anywhere," he said. "You're staying right here, with me." "But I'm not your daughter," Lily said. "You're not my dad." "Maybe not yet," Marcus said, "but I'd like to be, if you'd let me. I'll talk to Sarah and to my lawyers. I'll do whatever paperwork needs to be done. I'll fight whoever I need to fight. But Lily, if you want to stay here, really stay, not just for a few days, but forever, then that's what we'll do." Lily's eyes went wide. "Forever? Forever," Marcus confirmed. "This will be your home, your real home. You'll have your own room and your own books, and you'll go to good school, and you'll never, ever have to worry about having enough food, or being safe, or being wanted. Because I want you here. Not because you climbed my fence, or because I felt sorry for you, but because in the last 2 days, you've made this big, empty house feel like an actual home." "Really?" Lily's voice was so small and hopeful, it almost broke his heart. "Really," Marcus said, "I'm not perfect. I don't know anything about being a dad. I'll probably mess up a lot. But I promise you this. I will never leave you. I will never give up on you. And I will always make sure you know that you are wanted and loved and that you belong." Lily threw her arms around his neck and held on like she'd never let go. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for not sending me away. Thank you for letting me stay. Thank you for wanting me." Marcus held her close, this unexpected gift that had arrived on his doorstep in a storm. He thought about all the money he'd made, all the things he'd bought, all the success he'd achieved. None of it had ever made him feel as rich as he felt right now, with this little girl in his arms. "Thank you," he whispered back, "for knocking on my door." 6 months later, the adoption papers were signed. Lily Wellington, that was her name now, sat at the breakfast table in her school uniform, eating cereal and telling Marcus about the science project she was working on. Her hair was in neat braids. Her eyes were bright and happy. She had friends now. She loved her teacher. She was learning to play piano. The mansion wasn't empty anymore. There were drawings stuck to the refrigerator with magnets. There were toys in the game room. There were voices and laughter echoing through the halls. Marcus walked Lily to the bus stop every morning. He helped with homework every night. He attended school plays and parent-teacher conferences. He learned to braid hair and make hot chocolate and check for monsters under the bed. His business associates thought he'd lost his mind. His old friends didn't understand. The reporters had written 1,000 stories about the billionaire and his adopted daughter. Marcus didn't care, because he'd learned something that night when a crying girl knocked on his door. He'd learned that real wealth wasn't measured in money or houses or cars. Real wealth was measured in love and connection and having someone come home to. Real wealth was knowing that you mattered to someone and that someone mattered to you. Real wealth was turning a house into a home. "Dad," Lily said, looking up from her cereal. She started calling him that a month ago, and he still got choked up every time he heard it. "Yeah, kiddo? I'm really glad I climbed your fence that night." Marcus smiled, feeling his heart swell with a happiness he'd never known existed. "Me too, Lily," he said. "Me too." The mansion was still huge. The gates were still tall. The gardens were still perfect. But now, there was love inside those walls. And that made all the difference. If this story touched your heart, hit that like button below. Share it with someone who needs to hear that one act of courage can change everything. Subscribe to hear more stories about hope, redemption, and the power of opening your door and your heart to someone in need. What would you do if a crying child knocked on your door? Tell us in the comments. And remember, the greatest wealth we can ever have isn't what we keep for ourselves, but what we choose to share with others. Thank you for reading. See you in the next story.